Just in time for NTV Tonight, live from the Nation Center. Here are top stories tonight.
Tonight, responsible for 148 deaths.
Imetosheka kwamba upande wa mashtaka umeweza kudhibitisha kesi yake dhidi ya mshtakiwa wa kwanza, mshtakiwa wa pili na mshtakiwa wa tano.
3 of 4 suspects in the Garissa University attack found guilty. 1 other acquitted.
Also tonight, inflation for compensation. Land prices inflated by up to over 1,200% in SGR project. EACC is on the case.
If there's anybody who is culpable, I think the law will take its course.
Plus, Magistrate in trouble over Governor Waititu case says he has not resigned. And the governor was in court.
And
akachukua bag akasema tu yeye anatoka. Sasa tukadhani anaenda kazi kama kawaida. Sasa hiyo akurudi.
2 brothers abandoned and now living in school, clinging onto hope.
NTV Tonight with Mark Masai and Smriti Vidyarthi.
Tonight, Flora Atieno is joining us in sign language interpretation. Now, on the 3rd of April 2015, 4 gunmen stormed the Garissa University College and began firing indiscriminately. By the end, 148 people, mostly students, were dead.
The attack joined a somber list of high-casualty killings that dominated headlines, then slowly faded from public view. But tonight, almost 4 years later, the court delivered what may be the final piece of the puzzle.
3 out of 4 suspects accused of conspiring to and committing those acts of terror have been found guilty. A 4th suspect was acquitted after the prosecution failed to link him to the attack.
And as NTV's Brenda Wanga reports, the 3 will find out the punishment for their crimes on the 3rd of July this year.
For the second time in as many days, the 4 suspects in the terror attack of 2015 at the Garissa University sat pensively in the dock, waiting to know their fate. It was good news for one of the suspects. Hours into his ruling, Chief Magistrate Francis Andai uttered the words that Sahal Diriye had been hoping to hear for the last 4 years.
The 3rd accused person is acquitted of all the counts under Section 215 of the Criminal Procedure Code.
The other 3 were, however, in for a different verdict, one that will undoubtedly bring relief to those who lost their loved ones in that attack.
Imetosheka kwamba upande wa mashtaka umeweza kudhibitisha kesi yake dhidi ya mshtakiwa wa kwanza, mshtakiwa wa pili na mshtakiwa wa tano bila tashwishi yoyote.
That verdict particularly moving for this mother who'd sat in the courtroom for hours waiting for justice for her child, who was among those killed in one of the deadliest attacks in the country's memory.
In one instance, women students were herded together and told that they were being taken to safety only to be laid down and shot one by one.
The 3 found guilty of 3 charges: conspiracy to commit an act of terror, committing an act of terror, and belonging to a terrorist group. In passing his judgment, the magistrate said the prosecution had proved beyond reasonable doubt that the 3 knowingly agreed to commit these crimes. The first and second accused, Mohammed Ali Abdikadir and Hassan Adin Hassan, were linked to the terror attack through their telephone communication with one of the attackers who was killed on the scene. The 5th accused, Rashid Charles Mberesero, was deemed to have been one of the most important coordinators of the attack. He was also directly linked to the scene as he was pulled from under a bed in one of the hostels after the siege.
Remained in the hostel even when all other people were called out and came out. The inference is that he must have been fearing to come out and mix with the other students because he could not identify himself.
During the trial, the 2nd, 3rd, and 5th accused persons chose not to defend themselves against the charges preferred against them.
The conclusion for the search of the justice for the Garissa victims will come to an end on the 3rd of July this year, when the courts will hand out the sentence that the 3 accused people will serve for their part in that attack that has been described as one of the worst terrorist attacks in recent times in the country. Brenda Wanga, NTV, Nairobi.
Following this ruling, definitely people would be asking, how is it for those who were directly affected? How does this make them feel, this particular ruling? And we're fortunate to have, and we are very grateful that they could make time, those who survived this particular attack. They were there on the 3rd of April 2015 at the Garissa University College. Students there, many of them actually first-year students, and I'll just introduce you to them. Mariam Njeri, who's seated right next to me, and then you have Joseph Ngoge and Jason Nyanjui. And of course, they'll tell us about where they are right now. But first, Jason, when you hear the three who've been found guilty of this particular attack, how does this make you feel?
Okay, for me, Mark, it feels like justice has been served.
Okay.
But it is not enough, considering that we lost 147 lives. How would they feel if they were alive? How would they feel if they were here? So for me, I feel like justice was never served. Okay, justice has been served, but it is not enough to compensate for the lives of the 147 lives that we lost.
Yeah. And Joseph, do you feel in any way that this could bring any form of closure, that we have people who've been found guilty who are connected to this attack?
Yeah. The fact that wale watatu attack were convicted, as in were prosecuted by the court, as in is part of the process, healing process, as in for us. Though there are other steps wanafaa kuchukua, especially for the families that lost their loved ones. Most of them wengine walikuwa waliuza shamba, wengine ng'ombe, so that was kusomesha their whatever children. So as much as they have made wamemake step to prosecute the three guys, wanafaa to take an extra step, reaching out to the families that lost their loved ones in the attack.
Mariam, would you say, and as you give your reaction to the convictions today, would you say in any way that 4 years later, almost 4 years later, that the plight of those who were killed in this attack and the families and even the victims who survived has been forgotten?
Because, for the time we were in school, more university, the survivors, there was no coming back, the government was sending people or other counselors being sent to us to ask us how we are going through those things, to follow up on us, what we require. So I can say that somehow we have been forgotten, yes, but those memories still stay alive in our heads. So I can say that we have been forgotten.
All right, and just to keep this alive in terms of the memory of those who passed on and those who've been affected and still need help, we'll be continuing with this conversation, so just stand by with me. But on to something else that happened in court today. We'll be back with these gentlemen and lady to continue with their reactions to this particular development. But on to something else that people have been following, and City Lawyer Asa Nyakundi was rearrested today and taken to the DCI headquarters for questioning. Nyakundi, who was out on a cash bail after his release 2 months ago, is facing accusations of killing his son, Joseph Boronko. NTV's Silas Apollo reports.
The murder case against City Lawyer Asa Nyakundi took a new twist today after detectives rearrested him for questioning. Nyakundi, who was arrested while on his way to see one of his lawyers in Kileleshwa area in Nairobi, was taken in for questioning at the DCI headquarters along Kiambu Road. Sources told NTV that the arrest is in line with an order issued by the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nurdin Haji, calling for a review of charges against him, from manslaughter to murder.
Because I'm not dealing with the matter.
Nyakundi's arrest came just hours after Kiambu Magistrate Christine Meoli opted out of the case due to conflict of interest and instead referred the matter to the Milimani law courts. The case has been placed before Justice Ngenya Macharia.
As regards the murder charge, this court is not empowered to issue summons. That is within the power and jurisdiction of the murder division, which will take the plea. So I give no directions on those submissions.
Nyakundi had earlier been charged with manslaughter, but the Director of Public Prosecution applied for the charges to be dropped and substituted with murder charges. It led to the interdiction of some officers who were accused of bungling the case. Before Justice Ngenya, Nyakundi's family requested to be enjoined in the case as interested parties. The request was, however, opposed by the state prosecution on grounds that some of the family members are already witnesses in the case and have recorded statements with the investigating bodies. Nyakundi said to have shot and killed his son on March 17, 2019. The city lawyer has challenged the DPP's decision to prefer murder charges against him. He has been out on a cash bail of 300,000 shillings and a 1 million shillings surety. An inter-parties hearing has been set for the 2nd of July. Silas Apollo, NTV.
Now, erecting roadblocks will no longer be the discretion of officers in charge of police stations and the commanders going forward. The Office of the Inspector General has issued new directives that solely vests that responsibility with the regional and formation commanders. Well, for a roadblock to be mounted, the local stations must seek and get express permission from them. And as Ken Mijungu reports, this move is also supposed to address mischief that has seen the public exploited by the police.
The statement from the Office of the Inspector General of Police is the second in less than a month touching on road traffic management. It explains the rationale for this decision, key being smooth flow of traffic and management of scenes of accident. It reads in part, traffic checkpoints and roadblocks on highways shall only be mounted with the express authority of the regional or formation commanders and must be justified and rationalized. Further, it states that commanders will be held accountable for any misconduct by traffic officers which goes unpunished under their commands. It's signed by one Anthony Munga for the Director of Communication. Roadblocks have traditionally been used to discourage any form of criminal intention. They have also been used to check possible crime. Traffic police have used them to enforce through impromptu inspections and control of traffic. While this is the brighter side, they have been exploited by law enforcers to the detriment of road users. They have been used as toll stations where bribery is the order of the day. This is not limited to the highways but also feeder roads in major town centers and cities. On the highway, for example, a roadblock may be mounted by traffic officers and another roadblock set up a short distance away by administration police. In other areas, the county governments have also erected their own roadblocks. This is made worse in lawless societies where broke, unruly officers deliberately create their own roadblocks to collect money for a cause, usually during periods of need such as weeks preceding school openings. In some cases, stories are told of officers mounting roadblocks to collect money to fuel their official cars. But going forward, unauthorized roadblocks are prohibited and action will be taken against officers found to be going against this directive. The stretch from Mombasa to Malaba has already complied according to the police. It will, however, be difficult for the ordinary road user to know which is a legal roadblock or not. This exercise will entirely depend on the adherence and compliance of the police. Ken Mijungu, NTV.
To one of our highlighted stories, and the Employment and Labour Relations Court has lifted the suspension of Principal Magistrate Brian Kayamba by Chief Justice David Maraga. Magistrate Kayamba was suspended following his controversial ruling that saw him grant Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu anticipatory bail. Well, Kayamba has also refuted claims that he had resigned from his position following his abrupt suspension by the CJ. NTV's Zainab Ismail reports.
It is reprieve for Principal Magistrate Brian Kayamba as the Employment and Labour Relations Court Judge Baira Mongaya lifted his indefinite suspension issued by Chief Justice David Maraga. The matter in contention was that ruling in May that granted Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu anticipatory bail. Through his lawyer, Magistrate Kayamba said EACC should have appealed the decision if they felt it was beyond his jurisdiction to make such a ruling. Kayamba said the disciplinary action that had been initiated by the CJ will not go on until either the determination of the petition in court or the proposed mediation has been realized. The Labour and Relations Court has further directed that Khaemba receive half of his pay, as opposed to the CJ's directive that had suspended him on no pay. But in a letter addressed to magistrates on Thursday last week, CJ Maraga directed Khaemba to file a response within 14 days, pending which he will remain suspended until his disciplinary case is heard and determined. Khaemba refuted claims that he went to court to exclusively handle the anticipatory bail application for Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu, despite matters set to come up before him having been adjourned following his request for a sick leave. He says there were 3 other matters that he handled that day. However, EACC CEO Twali Mbarak said Khaemba was on sick of raising questions why he only appeared in court to hear the matter. The anti-graft agency boss claims the magistrate could be having interest in the matter, as there were other judicial officers who would have handled the matter as well. The anticipatory orders came just hours after EACC raided Waititu's homes on suspicion of tender irregularities. Khaemba, however, claims the matter has only been hyped because CJ Maraga has succumbed to demands by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. He has further refuted claims that he had resigned from any of his positions. The magistrate issued a 500,000 shilling anticipatory bail to Governor Waititu, a move that drew widespread criticism as it was viewed as derailing the war on corruption. Zainab Ismail, NTV.
And those contentious orders issued by Principal Magistrate Brian Khaemba barring the EACC from arresting Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu were the subject of a back and forth between lawyers in court today. The EACC has asked the court not to extend those orders, arguing that the governor and his chief finance officer, that's Faith Njeri Harrison, were using the court to shield themselves from arrest. Waititu's lawyer, however, argues that should the court lift the orders, then the EACC will harass and intimidate his client. Chief Magistrate Patricia Gishohi will rule on Friday whether or not to extend the orders. The Director of Public Prosecutions, Director of Criminal Investigations, the Inspector General of Police, the EACC and the Banking Fraud Unit have been listed as respondents in the case. Governor Waititu and his finance officer were each given a 500,000 shilling anticipatory bail. Elsewhere, a family in Kirinyaga is seeking justice after their son, a secondary school student, was run over by a police vehicle along the Nyeri-Nairobi highway. 17-year-old Kenneth Mwara, a Form 2 student at Njegas Boys Secondary School, was on his way to Sagana town from Riandira when he was hit by the vehicle and died instantly. The family claims the police are trying to cover up the incident since 2 senior police officers were in the car. Here's NTV's Melita Oletenges with more.
The late Kenneth Mwaura was on a mid-term break when tragedy struck. He died riding this motorcycle which he had borrowed from his uncle to run errands before going back to school. He was hit by a police vehicle in Riandira. His family now engulfed in sorrow following his untimely death.
Huyu mwenye gari alikuwa amekuja speedy kabisa, akajaribu kufunga, akafunga na keni.
He was joining the road from the left without due care and attention. The driver of that vehicle tried to avoid the accident very much, but it was late.
The Monday incident triggered protests from family members demanding the arrest and prosecution of the driver of the GK car, which was reportedly carrying 2 senior police officers, including the Central Regional Police Commander, Judy Lamet, but the response was heartbreaking.
Kutupereka kuenda kuingia, tunafukuzwa tu bado kama umbwa.
Police collected the student's body and took it to the Murang'a Hospital mortuary and had the vehicle number plates changed, a move that raised suspicions of a cover-up among relatives.
And while the police maintain that he did not take caution while joining the main highway, witnesses say the vehicle veered off the road while the driver was trying to evade a policeman who was setting up a police check sign right there.
I think the postmortem was done yesterday. They have, and they have been, in fact, the very day, not even a day, after hours.
Mzazi hata mmoja wa Keni hakukuwa wanamfanyia aje, wanamfanyia postmortem aje, wanamfanyia aje jameni.
The vehicle involved in the accident has since been released from the police station. However, no arrests have been made as regards to the incident. The deceased was an underage rider. Police have warned the public against underage driving and riding of motorcycles. Melita Oletenges, NTV.
May Kenneth's soul rest in peace and condolences to his family. We're taking a breather now on NTV tonight, but when we return there is plenty more. Mark Masai still has his guests in studio. Today, the news broke that 3 out of the 4 suspects accused of conspiring to and committing acts of terror have been found guilty. Those acts were committed at the Garissa University College, where 148 people died. Also coming up on NTV after the break, 2 brothers abandoned and now living in school, clinging on to hope. Their story coming up in a moment.
Sherekea nasi with Jumia anniversary sale from 11:59 p.m. on 23rd June. Download the Jumia app to enjoy.
Welcome back to NTV Tonight. And as we had our first story and announced the conviction of 3 who were connected to the Garissa University attack on 3rd of April 2015 that left at least 148 people dead. And that's not all. It also left victims who still have scars, those who survived. And we have them still in studio. And they were actually first-year students at the time and have since continued, and they'll tell us about that. But Mariam, would you consider this a happy day given the conviction that has been given today?
You know, they have been caught, yes, but it's not a happy day because it reminds us of what we went through. Even if they've been caught, it's a good sign, yes, but it awakes the wounds that we suffered on that day. So it's not a happy day, really.
And there's a lot of promises, especially after the attack, that yes, you will be transferred to another institution and they will follow up in terms of facilitating counseling and support to make sure that you clear your studies. Has that been the case for you, Ngoge?
Personally, yes, wanted to transfer from Garissa University to Moi University, and that was the first step.
Yes.
Alafu kuna some other people who came wakatufa scholarships. Some of us, kuna wengine wetu walienda Italy, and wengine wakalipa school fees. But kuna that small group of us, wenye tuliachwa, we were left behind.
Yes.
We never got any sort of financial help or something like that. Alafu counseling sessions ilikuwa very brief. So basically wengine wetu tuliachwa tukiwa bado mentally disturbed.
Right. Kwako ilikusumbua wewe mwenyewe?
Personally, in my case, I had to
defer.
Defer. And then he seek extra counseling sessions. Now, as you all know, counseling sessions are very expensive, but nilibahatika kupata free sessions.
Right. And to date, have you managed to finish? You're doing computer science?
I'm doing computer science. I still have 2 years to go. Currently, bado sija resume shule. So I have a lot of explaining to do nikirudi kule juu. So sasa as of now nimechelewa by 2 semesters.
Because people, you know, there's a lot of sympathy that accompanies this, period after, and saying, and a lot of pledges. Have people really followed up with this? You've managed to finish computer science and at Moi University. And would you say that for you, you've gotten to that place where you've healed, or has it been a lot of covering up?
Okay, for me, Mark, in as much as I tried my best kumaliza the computer science course, I've also been through challenges. I remember we were promised from time to time check-up by counselors and by other institutions that had promised us, but that was not the case. So after we were incorporated into my university, most of them, after the incorporation, they left us. Kama saizi tuseme, like for me, I still have those moments where hata kitu kifanyika tuseme kama a bang happens in town, bado nitashtuka. I remember when the D2 attack happened, I was in town. And unajua na kulikuwa na jam Mombasa Road. I was going to Utawala, na kulikuwa na jam Mombasa Road. Do you know, I felt as if I could shook up the mat and talk and
just run.
Yeah, because you could imagine the picture that it brings back. You see, and then the sharing of photos on social media, it sparks up. It sparks those memories, and the memories in my mind are always as fresh as I saw the thing happen.
And Mariam, what would you tell people who are quick to share those photos on WhatsApp groups and what have you, and they say in the name of showing how bad it is, and in fact there's an ongoing case about this, but as a victim who went through this and people were sharing those pictures on WhatsApp groups, how did it make you feel? What does it do to you?
Personally, when I see those pictures, for example, as Jay was saying, in the 14 Riverside attack, those pictures being shared, it brings up those memories back again, and I'm reliving the moment once again. And for example, for the parents of the victims who passed on during the Garissa attack, it revives those memories of their children. It brings the sadness. You know, those wounds have not been healed yet. They're still fresh. According to me, they're still fresh because, as Joe was saying, during that attack, 14 Riverside, I didn't come out of the house that day because, like, I saw like the Al-Shabaab were coming for me next. You know, so I just called my parents, crying because I couldn't do anything. I was so in shock. That's why people should not post those kind of pictures, those horrific pictures in the internet.
Joseph Ngoge, before Jason comes in, you also say that you're still going through episodes sometimes, and you're not even able to finish your education. To those who share these pictures, and they're quick to do that, what's your word to them?
Personally, naweza sema, if at all he's a man, a guy, if at all I'd share those pictures, akiwa na financial, whatever, if at all sharing those pictures because na benefit financially, naweza mwambia that is a very inhuman thing to do. Anaweza jaribu something else like approaching us. Ask the story zetu and then andike kuhusu story zetu. Maybe you naweza benefit financially other than posting those pictures. Hiyo tena ndani kutoheshimu mwenye kupoteza maisha yake na familia yake.
Na hata hizo familia.
Yeah, so basically that is so inhuman and fine.
Jason?
Yeah, I was taught something on sharing photos on social media, and I come to learn that one of the known bloggers, Robert Alai, has been arrested because of sharing some of sensitive photos of something that happened, I think in Wajir. What I would say is, it is good for you to scrutinize some of those things before you post them on social media. And you know, in the current generation, people are receiving and forwarding, which makes information spread so fast. So before you like if I send you something, before you resend it to someone else, think about it. Think about the impact that it is going to have on that person. I remember during the Garissa thing, after we came from Garissa, someone sent me a photo of guys who had been shot and were laying down on the floor. Do you know what that triggered in my mind?
Can't imagine.
It was a nasty experience.
Yes.
Yeah. So before one shares something on social media, you should first of all think about the sensitivity of the information that you are sharing and the impact it is going to have on the people that you are sending the photos to.
And just as we conclude now, and you can update us with where you are in terms of what you've been able to do so far, because people say life goes on, but it hasn't been easy for you. So where are you now? What's your hope for the future?
Currently, I'm waiting for my graduation in Bachelor of Arts in Economics in August, and so far, I thank God because He has been with me. He has helped me through even studying. Sometimes even studying is hard. You're just being reminded of what you went through. But the family, friends who have supported me, I thank them too. And so far, I'm still job hunting because waiting for graduation.
Yes.
And I pray for the best.
Right. Joseph?
Personally, I'm looking forward to finishing my whatever degree course in computer science. Because I still have 2 years to go.
2 years to go.
Yeah, so basically I'm more than hoping God that I come through venye inafaa. That my university bado may preserve my space there.
All right, and I believe they're listening. Jason, as you also speak about, and on behalf of the other students who were victims and survived this, and those who also lost their loved ones and families.
First, I'd like to say, we as the Garissa community, the guys who came from Garissa, we are a solid thing. We always support each other, and we always have each other's backs. And for the families that were affected, more so, there's a village that lost 11 students.
Yes.
That's a big loss. In as much as everyone wants to go to the university and get education, that in turn you're going to do something that will change the face of your village, the face of your family. I think there's still a long way to go for those families, because some of them, as Joseph was saying, they sold their parcels of land. Some of them carried out fundraising, and others sold part of things that they held dear.
Yeah.
So for me, I would say I think those families should be put into consideration.
Right.
Yeah. And in as much as I'm done with my degree in Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, I am happy, yes. But how about people like Joseph here who are not able to complete?
Right.
How about someone else, somewhere else who is stuck in the education, in completing their degree? Currently, I can say I'm also job hunting as I await for my graduation in August.
All right.
Yes.
And I wish you, sincerely, I wish you all the best as you surge forward. And for those who are listening and responsible in terms of follow-up in the particular cases, this is an opportunity for you to pick up on the pledges that were made. Jason, Joseph, and Mariam, thank you for your time. And especially given how hard it is sometimes, it brings back memories. Thank you for sharing your time and your experience so far. All the best to you guys.
Thank you, sir.
Asante. We're taking a break here on NTV Tonight. Business News will be up next.
Dettol's main objective is to help children protect themselves from diseases. Do you know how we get illnesses like diarrhea and cold?
49 containers belonging to small-scale traders that had been stuck at the inland container depot in Embakasi have been released following a directive by President Uhuru Kenyatta last month. Out of the 514 containers, 300 are expected to be released tomorrow, while another 125 are yet to be identified.
The President gave a directive to have them declared locally, assist them to process them, remove the demurrage charges on them, and then release them. So 300 will be released by tomorrow. Then we'll have a meeting on Friday to see the 125 that are remaining, what progress has been made. So the person who may have made the mistake is the consolidator. Traders who are putting their goods inside could be innocent, because all they do is import and then hand over to somebody to consolidate and ship for them.
And staying with streamlining business, a new investment policy set to be gazetted next month is expected to restore order to the business environment where local traders have been raising concern over being run out of business by foreigners. Industry, Trade and Cooperatives Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya says the policy will guide areas open for investment and the amount of investment needed in order to protect Kenyans in certain sectors. Victor Kiprop with the details.
Just a year after embarking on a permit verification exercise aimed at weeding out illegal foreign workers in the country, Kenya appears to be back in the same hole. 17 foreign nationals accused of running illegal betting businesses in the country were deported in March, and some 6 other Chinese hawkers deported last week, reflecting the huge weaknesses in the country's immigration and investment policies. The government, however, says this will soon no longer be a problem.
We have already looked into our investment policy. In fact, we will be launching it any time from now. That list will identify certain strategic sectors that will be ring-fenced for Kenyans.
The policy is expected to provide guidelines on areas available for investments and amounts of investments needed in order to regulate the issuance of work permits.
We are not issuing work permits to traders because we don't do that as government. We don't have a classification of work permits called traders. And any people who are in markets and so on, who are trying to trade, those are illegal immigrants.
Last year, Madira Member of Parliament Rigathi Gachagua introduced a bill which he said would save the country from what he termed as Chinese economic invasion.
This is not targeting any country, so I don't like the idea where we keep talking about a particular country. It will target anybody who doesn't reach that threshold. Because trading should be neutral, people neutral, country neutral.
In 2018, Kenya imported goods worth 371 billion shillings from China against a paltry export figure of just 11 billion shillings. Victor Kiprop, NTV Business.
And elsewhere, the Galana Kulalu food security project will not collapse. Those are the words of the Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mwangi Kiunjuri, who says the government has taken full control of the project following the controversial exit of the Israeli contractor Green Arava, and will turn it around to succeed. Lilian Carrier with more on that story.
5 years ago, Kenyan taxpayers planted an expensive seed, one worth over 7 billion shillings, in hopes that it would sprout, germinate and produce fruits. But this has not been the case.
We have a project in Galana that has spent 6.2 billion, and yet we have not gone far.
The Galana Kulalu project targeted to put 500,000 acres of land under irrigation as a solution for Kenya's food insecurity problem, with an initial 10,000 acres as the model farm. But plans to move the country from rain-fed agriculture are still in the bleak. The government is betting on the change of guard that has seen the National Irrigation Board fully take over the project following the exit of Green Arava to turn things around.
Over the year, we have been making losses. But this year, the season we are doing it as government, with the proper supervision, we are going to make a breakthrough.
Kiunjuri made the pronouncement at the Agritech Conference Expo that has brought together various agricultural experts into ways of harnessing digital technologies in the agricultural sector in Kenya. Now, despite Kenya being a trailblazer in creating technologically disruptive solutions, particularly in the field of mobile banking, the same has not been replicated in the agriculture sector. Now, with thousands streaming in to attend this exhibition that is happening right here at the KICC and is running for the next 2 days, their hope is that they get to experience this solution and in turn boost their productivity. Lillian Kiarie, NTV.
And getting back to Marta's budget, the registration of pay bill and till numbers by mobile phone operators could soon be added to the list of undertakings for which provision of a PIN is mandatory if the Finance Bill of 2019 is passed by the Parliament. The bill proposes to amend the first schedule of the Tax Procedures Act of 2015, which lists the undertakings for which a PIN is required, including trade licensing, importation of goods, and the registration of business names, among others. Tax experts argue that the proposal is yet another attempt by the Kenya Revenue Authority to widen its revenue base while targeting the growing cashless transactions. While service providers such as Safaricom already demand a PIN while registering, it is upon the person registering to remit all taxes resulting from the services, something that tax experts say KRA is now keen to have a better capacity to verify. And that's it from the business desk. Up next is the financial report.
Fresh Fry Premium Cooking Oil now has a new look and an advanced spout and seal. Triple refined, zero cholesterol and natural vitamin E. Fresh Fry, always heart friendly. Now it's even more cooking friendly. Fresh Fry, the premium cooking oil for healthy living.
Be a fan made of more with Guinness and win 1 million shillings plus a trip to Cairo with
Welcome back. Tonight, we have revelations of how corrupt officials at the National Lands Commission colluded with a section of property owners to defraud taxpayers of up to 3.3 billion shillings through over-evaluation.
While the NLC has halted the payment of the implicated property owners after the EACC raised the red flag, taxpayers have been losing up to 21 million shillings daily to the contractor for idle capacity.
NTV Setolale had an exclusive interview with the Commission's acting CEO, Kabale Tache Arero, and has a latest update on the SGR Nkoroi compensation saga.
NTV is in possession of classified documents revealing how a total of 4 billion shillings could have been fraudulently lost through illegal SGR Phase 2A compensation. It has emerged that a resolution made in an inter-ministerial meeting attended by, among others, Director of Public Prosecutions Nurdin Haji and Directorate of Criminal Investigations George Kinoti held in the office of the Chairman of the Cabinet Committee of National Development, Implementation and Communication Fred Matiang'i on 5th February 2019 stopped the overvalued payment of 3.3 billion shillings to 93 property owners, also known as Project Affected Persons, PAPs. The 93 who were to receive the lump sum illegal compensation represent only 20% of the total beneficiaries. Interestingly, a staggering 367 property owners that fall within the SGR Phase 2A compensation corridor who claim between 1 million shillings and 10 million shillings form the bulk of complaints at 80% and are collectively being compensated 924 million shillings compared to the 3.3 billion shillings the 93 project-affected persons were to receive. So, who is culpable for the huge valuation anomalies at the National Lands Commission?
I am not condemning anyone. I think all of us have had distinct roles. As Secretariat, they performed their own role. Commissioners played their policy role, and I do not blame any one of them. Of course, matters of land is sensitive, and especially now where the payment is involved. But if there's anybody who is culpable, I think the law will take its course.
The multi-agency evaluation team that includes valuers from the Presidential Delivery Unit, National Lands Commission and Ministry of Land detailed how property belonging to 17 project-affected persons were illegally overvalued. For instance, the multi-agency evaluation team valued one such property to be worth 18,335,200 shillings. However, according to the National Lands Commission valuers, the property was controversially hiked to a staggering 244,117,294 shillings, with over 225 million shillings difference in valuation. That represents a variance of 1,231%.
If there's anybody who's claiming that the payment is delayed, we are not delaying. We are doing due diligence. We want to protect the public fund cannot be lost.
For now, a combined total of 924 million shillings is being paid to 367 legitimately project-affected persons whose valuation is between 1 to 10 million shillings, with the NLC, Ministry of Lands and EACC tasked with scrutinizing the remaining 3.3 billion shillings for purposes of accuracy and authenticity. The sound of bulldozer tearing down buildings at Nkoroi area in Kajiado County has gone silent. However, investigations into the Section 2A of the SGR compensation is yet to die down. Already, senior former NLC officials have been arrested and arraigned in court, charged with various corruption cases. Seth Olale, NTV at the NLC head offices, Nairobi County.
Right, from that to the story we highlighted just before the break, and two brothers are in search of their kin after their paternal uncle, who had been acting as their parent, abandoned them in the city.
Duncan Mwenje and Sebastian Babu have been living in their school, which tries to accommodate their needs, albeit with some challenges. They are 2 of 8 pupils living in the school due to abandonment by their caregivers.
Charity Mwangi reports on what seems to be a troubling situation that is becoming the norm, perhaps, in Nairobi's slum areas.
Although it is during the mid-term break, class is ongoing at the Bella Education Center. Most of these pupils are volunteering their time to revise for the national exams, but amongst them are two who have no choice but to be here. This is home for Duncan and Sebastian for reasons they did not expect, nor could have predicted.
Tuliamuka tu, akachukua bag, akasema tu yeye anatoka. Sasa tukadhani anaenda kazi kama kawaida. Sasa hiyo akurudi.
Duncan is 16 and he's way older than his classmates. Duncan says his early years were difficult, leading to his delayed start in education.
Nikuchago mimi na brother yangu tuko napelekwa shule. Tablet tukakuja huku, shosho yetu Lekonga anatupenda. Sasa yeye ndo akatupeleka shule, baba yetu akakufa wa kwanza, alafu shosho akamfuata.
Upon the uncle's departure to the village, life went from difficult to unbearable.
Ikifika lunch time mtapata wanasema tumeambiwa huko leo sapa hakuna. Wanakimbia na chakula kwa jikoni ingine. Wamekula kidogo wanafunikia.
Huko hakuna stima, tunatumia candle. Kama siku moja tulikuwa na revise, nilikuwa class 7. Nilikuwa na revise kufanya end term exam na brother yangu. Sasa kidogo, sasa vile nikamwacha akaanza kusinzia kalala na vile tunatumia candle kashika kitabu.
Teachers at the community school bear the brunt of the struggle of caring for these children, a struggle that relatives don't want to shoulder.
Hawa watoto wakilemewa wanakuja kuomba walimu. Unapata wanaomba hata walimu, ni tafadhali teacher, ninunulie kalamu.
Mimi ningependa kuambia relatives wa Duncan, penye wako, tafadhali, huyu mtoto ni mtoto mzuri, ni wa bidii, anafanya vizuri kwa darasa na si vizuri wa mtupe.
Duncan is a diligent pupil. He is always at the top of his class. Every subject has him as the best pupil, a reflection of what he expects to achieve at the end of the year in the national exam. He, however, is worried about his future.
Ningependa kwenda Mangu Boys kwa sababu ndio imenifurahisha. Hadi mimi nafurahi tunatamani kujoin hiyo shule. Naogopa kwa sababu naweza kosa kujoin high school. Leo itakuwa ni kama nimepoteza education yangu na ningependa sana ni join form 1 ili nianze maisha yangu ya secondary. Na pia kwa sababu hakuna pesa, si kirahisi ni join. Lakini mimi natarajia kuwa ni max nitapata nitanisaidia.
Regardless of what he's been through, Duncan tells us that he's not saddened by his situation because it's the only life he's known. He, however, wants to do better, to be better. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
What an absolutely brave boy there with such a positive outlook and attitude, and certainly wish him all the best and hope someone's watching that will reach out to help him. Still on education, Alliance Girls High School and Alliance High School have topped in the Central region in the national qualifying test in the ongoing Interswitch SPAC STEM competition, which is geared towards encouraging students to take up science, technology, engineering and mathematics courses.
And TV's education reporter Sharon Baranga reports.
2 months ago, they embarked on a journey with their peers from other schools. Today, they got to know how they fared in the national qualifying test for the ongoing Interswitch SPAC STEM competition. It was a battle of brains in the science, technology, engineering and mathematics subjects, otherwise known as STEM courses, that brought together 1,175 students from 37 counties who sat for the exam last month.
This competition was first held in Nigeria, and they had selected their best students to compete, and the Kenyan students will compete against each other and we will select the best in Kenya.
John Yoshi from Alliance High School was the best. Coming in second was Abigail Mokene from Alliance Girls High School, who tied with Natasha Nyambura from Bishop Gatimungandu Girls. Other schools with students who landed a top 10 position are Kagumo High School and Kanga High School. Some of the students already have a clear idea about what they want to pursue in future.
I feel great because I feel like I'm getting closer to achieving what I've always wanted to do, that science-based career, that's medicine.
Take them positively because they are not difficult. It's just your attitude towards them that makes the difference, yes, especially the sciences.
When students get to have such kind of motivation, they get to work more and they are able to produce the best out of themselves.
In ranking of regions in the country, Central was the best, followed by Nyanza, Rift Valley, Western, Nairobi, Coast, Eastern, and then Northeastern. The competition, which was launched in April, is open to Form 3 students who have an interest in STEM courses. The overall winner will receive a scholarship worth 1.5 million shillings, a laptop, signage for their school, while the first and second runners-up will get 750,000 shillings and 150,000 shillings respectively, and a laptop each. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
Congratulations to the young ones and all the best as they surge on. The youth have often been referred to as leaders of tomorrow.
Well, the word tomorrow has at times seemed tantamount to never, therefore denying the youth a hand at a free and fulfilled life.
Young people now have a new platform to express themselves on the issues that affect them. NTV is launching a new show, Here and Now, hosted by Janet Mbogwa, which is set to give the youth a platform to speak on issues that matter to them as they seek solutions.
NTV's Helen Aura brings us more details on the show that starts tomorrow, that's Thursday, at 8 p.m.
Young people are smart, young people have a lot to say, they have the power to change this country.
That notwithstanding, young people continue to face roadblocks on their journey to fulfillment, from education systems and structures that are disconnected from the market needs to the red tape that denies them access to government initiatives, and the list goes on, and their frustrations as well. Here and Now, a show on NTV hosted by Janet Mbugwa, aims to give a platform to the youth to express their situations, challenges and solutions.
We'll be getting different kinds of people with different backgrounds and from different demographics to come and represent their voice on the platform.
A key aim is to bring a broad and impactful change in society.
A young person's issues they affect everyone. They affect people who are older, people who are younger, people from different backgrounds and demographics. However, it will speak to a very wide demographic of young people. Those who are in Mashinani, etc. can still follow it up, whether it's on their digital.
Challenges that the youth face, if unchecked, sometimes lead to depression, strained relationships, many social ills, and much more.
I need young people to watch it. I need families to watch it, grown-ups, teachers, everyone to watch this program and learn through the eyes and voices of the youth, how can we make Kenya better going forward.
The youth have repeatedly said that they want their voices heard, and NTV has provided yet another platform for this. Every Thursday at 8 p.m. Helen Aura, NTV.
Tomorrow, 8 p.m. Now, coming up in the sports news, 3 days till the continent's biggest football showpiece kicks off in Cairo.
The Harambee Stars hope to shine as they take part in their first training session. Details in the sports news up next.
The Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Public Service, Youth and Gender, Professor Margaret Kobia, welcomes you to the Africa Public Service Day celebrations from Friday 21st to Sunday 23rd June.
Every footballer dreams of playing in the big leagues. It doesn't always.
Cup of Nations, which gets underway on Friday. This comes after the team concluded a 19-day residential camp in France in their preparation for the Continental Showpiece. Kenya, who will be taking part in the tournament for the first time in 15 years, played 2 friendly matches in Europe, winning 1-0 against Madagascar and drew 1-1 with Democratic Republic of Congo. The team will open their Group C campaign against Algeria on Sunday, and Tanzania will be up next on June 27th before Kenya winds up the group stage matches against Senegal on July 1st. And Africa Cup of Nations first-timers Mauritania will be hoping to carry on their fine form from their qualifiers as they make their AFCON debut against powerhouses Angola, Tunisia and Mali in Group E. With 2 days to the tournament's kick-off, we focus on Group E that opened their group tie on 24th.
Road to AFCON 2019 in association with GoTV.
Tunisia, Mali and Angola won their respective groups, with the Carthage Eagles topping Group J on 15 points during the qualifiers. While first-time qualifiers Mauritania were pipped to first place in Group I by Angola, but impressively reached the tournament with a game to spare. Making their 19th appearance at the Africa Cup of Nations, Tunisia, who have reached the knockouts in 9 of their last 12 AFCONs, will be seeking to replicate their best performance in 2004, where they kept their title when they hosted the tournament. Coached by former France star Alain Giresse, who is making a 4th attempt to winning the Africa Cup of Nations, the team has set up a quarter-final berth for his side. Mali were one of the 5 teams who went through the qualifying unbeaten, finishing as Group C winners. Making their 11th appearance, with the best performance being a runners-up finish in 1972. The Eagles coach Mohamed Magasuba has emphasized youth, with the oldest player, goalkeeper Ibrahim Mankara, only 29 years, and Southampton forward Musa Zenepo, set to attract attention. Coached by sub Suridian Vasiljevic, Angola are a workman-like team, with Costa Paolo from Egyptian club giants Al Ahly providing creativity on the right flank. The best they have achieved in 7 previous appearances is 2 quarterfinals appearances in 2008 and 2010, and are hoping to match that feat. Mauritania Group I runners-up in qualifiers are making their debut under French coach Corentin Martins. Highly capped Moulay Ahmed, with 48 caps, will be one of the dependent-on players in the squad that is new to the tournament. Tunisia kick off Group E action against Angola, while Mali face Mauritania in their group's other clash, both matches on the 24th.
Road to AFCON 2019 in association with GoTV.
Experience the unforgettable with the Total Africa Cup of Nations with Supersport on GoTV. GoTV, live it, love it.
And back home, Posta Rangers battled to a 1-1 draw with Nairobi Stima at the Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos to remain in the Kenyan Premier League on a 3-2 aggregate. Stima, coached by Evans Mafuta, will now have to contend with a place in the National Super League for another season after finishing 3rd in the second-tier league. Francis Nambute gave Posta the lead in the 4th minute before Dennis Oalo equalized for Stima in the 47th minute. The Powermen pushed for a comeback, but Posta held on to the draw to retain KPL status. The Mailmen had won 2-1 in the first leg fixture played at the Karuturi grounds in Naivasha on Saturday, with Joaquin Satudo and Nambute the goal scorers. And the 2007 World 800 meters champion Janet Jepkosgei is set to make a comeback during the Athletics Kenya trials for the African Games starting Thursday at the Kasarani Stadium. It will be the first time Jepkosgei is taking to track in a competitive race since the 2015 World Championships in Beijing, China. The men and women's 5,000 meters semi-finals go down in the absence of World and Commonwealth champion Helen Obiri, who has opted to compete at the Prefontaine Classic in June 30th in USA. World Under-20 and Under-18 1500 meters champion John Manangoi and Africa Under-18 1500 meters champion Vincent Keter will highlight the men's 1500 meters semi-final. Top 2 finishing athletes in the final will qualify for their respective events to the Games, with the panel of selectors deciding the 3rd entry. The African Games will take place from August 23rd to September 3rd in Casablanca, Morocco. And just an update, FC Leopards branch chairman have maintained that the club's polls will go on as scheduled this weekend. This despite the Sports Discipline Tribunal putting it away for this weekend for the next 28 days. A lot more on that in our subsequent bulletins tomorrow. But for now, back to you, Mark and Smriti.
Thanks very much, Brian. That's where we leave it on NTV tonight. Thank you, Flora Atieno, for being our sign language interpreter. I'm Smriti Vidyarthi. Have yourselves a good night.
Thank you for being our audience, and thank you on behalf of the team that made this possible. My name is Mark Masai. Good night.
This is NTV.
Bringing families together from tropical brands.
Stay informed about your destination and the risk of getting malaria. Ensure to familiarize yourself with malaria risk areas before you travel.
Kila usiku ninasisitiza kutumia Baygon Multi-Insect Killer kwa kinga ya mbu sugu kabla ya kulala. Hivyo, ninajua kuwa wapendwa wangu watalala wakiwa wamekingwa. Baygon ni vizuri kuwa sugu dhidi ya mbu wanaoweza kuwa na malaria. SC Johnson, a family company.
If by any chance you find out that you have TB, you'll get the treatment for free from any hospital. All the tests are free. All the medications are free.
Don't wait till it's too late. TB is preventable, treatable, and curable.
Having mental health issues happens to everybody. And by the time someone comes to terms with it and is willing to open up about it, believe them and help them find help.
And so it happens when depression manifests itself in young black men. We can't even see what that looks like.
The only things that I didn't have were two things, which were suicidal thoughts and wanting to harm myself.
So what do you think we missed then as a family?
I don't think you guys could have picked up on anything, if I can be completely honest. Even the people closest to me couldn't see it. It says a lot. You can either choose to put out the lights, or you can choose to sit in it and see what's coming. And I'm glad that I did.
Get a 2-bedroom apartment, master en suite with state-of-the-art finishing at 6.8 million Kenya shillings cash offer price and 7.9 million Kenya shillings for mortgage buyers. SMS HOME to 21595.